What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday morning, we had a pretty big announcement from Sony with new controller variants, as well as, finally, custom shells that you can buy for your PlayStation 5 console if you're able to find one of those consoles. We'll go over that here today. Also, we're going to be talking about the NPD results for the month of November, showing some serious issues when it comes to supplies around those consoles. And we're also going to be going over a serious issue that Sony may be facing when it not only comes to the PlayStation 4 being hacked, but even the PlayStation 5. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the SpawnWave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with Forspoken. After the Game Awards, we found out that the game will be coming out later in May of 2022. And now it looks like we have some new details around performance and quality mode, as well as one use of the DualSense controller. We can head over here, this on Game Rant, who says that there will be 3 different modes: performance mode, graphics mode, and ray tracing mode. Does appear details say the performance mode will run at 1440p resolution, 60 FPS. Graphics mode will run at 4K resolution, 30 FPS. And then ray tracing mode will just add ray tracing. No clue really as to the resolution there. We have some examples from previous games, things like Ratchet and Clank, where they had different modes added in later on, and it appeared that it was kind of an in-between there, where they would drop the resolution to even 1080p in order to incorporate ray tracing, even at times bring in like higher frame rates like with Spider-Man. But for the DualSense controller, it looks like they will be using those adaptive triggers depending on which spell you're using, or maybe different resistance points or different ways to, I guess, just give you that feeling that you are about to cast that certain spell. So it's cool to hear about that. And of course, the different modes. I always like to just play through on performance mode, but I understand there are a lot of people who are okay with 30 FPS if they get a better looking game and experience. But good to hear there are options. And yeah, I'm looking forward more and more to Forspoken as we get more looks at it through different videos and even gameplay that's been shown off. Also, a quick heads up for anyone still doing some holiday shopping out there. It looks like GameStop is running a sale where they're doing a buy 3, get 2 free. So 5 games total, you pay for 3 of them, but anything under $20 when it comes to pre-owned games. And looking through their website, there are quite a few. Here's a screenshot, for example. Then I'll even leave a link to a site that listed several of these, and we can quickly run through some, like Ghost of Tsushima. It would be part of the sale. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Then we have Resident Evil Village, which is marked down so far in terms of a used game that you can actually get it to be free even if you pick up 5 different $20 games. God of War, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, The Outer Worlds, Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 3, Destroy All Humans, even Dragon Quest 11S. So certainly take a look here if you're trying to kind of stock up on just overall quantity of gifts and save quite a bit of money. Oh, and you know how I keep asking Capcom to do something new with Mega Man? Well, they may have heard me as we got an update on the series, and it's not really what I was looking for. We can see this posted up on Rockman Corner saying, sounds like the live-action Mega Man movie is coming to Netflix. This was spotted on a recent update on Supermarsh's website that pretty much confirms it. And we can see here, features in the works include an adaptation of Capcom's Mega Man for Shonen Entertainment and Netflix. Okay, so I'm thinking right now of some of the other Capcom movies. Monster Hunter, right? We had the recent Resident Evil, and people weren't that happy with what happened there with Resident Evil. If they do a live-action Mega Man movie, whew, that's gonna be something to see there. I mean, obviously, I just prefer a game. I guess it's good that they're doing something with Mega Man, but we need that Mega Man X9 or the next game in the Mega Man series. Just something, Capcom. Come on. Instead, you're making a live-action movie. We heard about this previously. It's just like, oh yeah, that's right. They're going to attempt to make one of these. We'll see how that works out. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony's big announcement when it comes to new controller variants and them implementing custom console shells for the PlayStation 5. We can see this over on PlayStation Blog, where they say Nova Pink, Starlight Blue, and Galactic Purple join the Galaxy-inspired color offerings. And they have like a video, a trailer showing off all of these. And Obviously, I like the purple controller. I think I'm going to be picking that one up. They do explain a bit more about this over on their blog, saying, adding to the previously released Cosmic Red and Midnight Black DualSense wireless controller colors, the latest Galaxy-inspired colors will launch globally, starting in January 2022 at participating retailers. They go on to say, we're also introducing new PS5 console covers to match all of the Galaxy-inspired DualSense wireless controller colors in Midnight Black, Cosmic Red, Nova Pink, Starlight Blue, and Galactic Purple. I have a nice little screenshot of all of the different color variations for the shells and the controllers themselves. They're looking pretty good. Like I said, the purple one looks nice. You know, I do like the red, and I think that Starlight Blue really pops as well. Now, it does look like they will be splitting these up on their releases. Black and red will be available starting in January 2022, and then they will follow up with Nova Pink, Galactic Purple, and Starlight Blue covers for their consoles throughout the first half of 2022. As for release dates with the controllers, they go on to say that Galactic Purple will be available on the PlayStation Direct website starting January 14th while supplies last, and we offer it at other participating retailers starting February 11th. For those PS5 covers, Midnight Black, Cosmic Red, those will be available first January 21st on PlayStation Direct, and will follow up in stores actually February 18th. And if we take a look over on the PlayStation Direct website, we do have the controllers coming in at $75, which that's the same price that they had previously with that Cosmic Red controller, so pretty much expected there. And then looking at the custom covers for the console, those are coming in at $55. This seemed to surprise quite a few people, but if you've been watching here, you should have expected this because I think I predicted about $50, and that was going off of what dbrand was doing with their custom shells. That just seems to be the pricing that's been set at this time, and I think it comes down mostly to the materials being used, and this is something that is continuing to kind of surprise people, is materials across the board have been going up in price behind the scenes. We just talked about that Analog Pocket going up from $200, which was the expected price, up to $220. And I know these are just plastic shells, right? But $50 or $55 in this case is right in line with what we've seen from dbrand, those can go up to about $70 if you start stacking a bunch of different optional things on top of it. Remember, we do have other third-party shells that aren't really official technically, and like Sony doesn't like them. That's one of the reasons they did the patent to try to block those completely and even have shut down different websites, even going to war a bit there with dbrand. So this was Sony's way of kind of cornering the market and setting the price themselves, this at $55. So while it's not an ideal price, obviously it's an optional thing. You can decide if you want them or not. And looking at this, I think the other way they could have gone with it, and they probably considered it, was just releasing a blue PS5 and like, oh, the custom shells are just on there. You got to buy the entire PS5 and just have a theme, the Starlight Blue PlayStation 5 color variant. This at least is better than having to find a PS5 and then probably spend additional money on top of that. You just decide if you want the shell or not. And this does open everything up to those custom shells that people are really hopeful for, themed around different game releases. Would you pay $55 potentially for a Spider-Man 2 themed shell? I mean, there are a lot of people who probably would do that. Same with God of War, Gran Turismo, and so on. I don't know if they're actually going to do that, but at least it looks like they are trending in that direction with these custom covers. So we'll see how they sell. I assume they're going to do pretty well when they release here on the PlayStation Store. And then even in different retailers, like I guess walking into a Best Buy, you could potentially pick up a custom cover for your PS5, potentially at checkout with the console itself if you're lucky enough to find it in stores. Here's hoping that's an actual thing that starts to happen in 2022. Next up, let's talk about the NPD sales charts for the month of November. This giving us a look at the different sales for the US, and some will be boxed and digital, others just boxed like Nintendo's titles. But we can head over here. This would be the top 20 for the NPD in the US, starting with Call of Duty Vanguard at the top there. It immediately became the second best-selling Call of Duty or game just in general of the year, that being Call of Duty Vanguard. We still need to hear more about how it compares to previous Call of Duties, and I'm sure Activision will have to talk about that with investors, because I do kind of feel like it was a bit of a down year for Call of Duty overall, just in terms of hype. I see more people talking about Warzone as opposed to Vanguard. Then we have Battlefield 2042 coming in at number 2. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, those are just physical copies, by the way, coming in at 3. Then we have Forza Horizon 5, which set an all-time record for sales in the Forza franchise across the board. So Forza Motorsport or Horizon, doesn't matter. This just did the best overall when it came to sales, which is impressive considering it is on Game Pass. People still went to the stores and picked the game up. Then we have Madden NFL 22, Mario Party Superstars. That, again, was just physical copies. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, FIFA 22, Far Cry 6, NBA 2K22. And we have Just Dance 2022, Mario Kart 8, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Back 4 Blood, Shin Megami Tensei 5. This also set a new record when it comes to sales for a Shin Megami game, and that's great news for Atlas there, and that series, of course, going forward, so good to see. Then we have Minecraft, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Ghost of Tsushima. As for hardware, the Switch was the best-selling system when it comes to dollars and units, and Nintendo even released a press release through Business Wire saying that the Switch sold 1.13 million units in the month of November. That includes 550,000 systems in the week of Black Friday and Thanksgiving, which is interesting because we had those statistics saying the Xbox Series S sold the most through websites, and that was just people getting to check out and picking the system up. But just overall, in general, the week of Black Friday, the entire week, and Thanksgiving, the Switch had 550,000. That's pretty impressive overall for the Switch. I said the Switch most likely will be passing the Wii by the end of this year. So once we roll into January, we'll hear from Nintendo, I'm sure, more about that at their next fiscal report. But something a bit interesting about hardware sales right now, all of this looks great for like the Switch, but it's actually not as good as last year. Check out what Daniel Ahmed says here. If you want to know how bad the supply situation is, the Switch sold less than November last year. PS5 plus Xbox barely equals what Switch sold in total. The PS4, Xbox One, and Wii U, yes, the Wii U, sold more in November 2014 than Switch plus PS5 plus Xbox Series in November 2021. That should really just put into perspective the supply crunch that specifically the PS5 and the Xbox are going through. I mean, we see the Switch selling over 1 million units in 1 month. That's very impressive. 500,000 in the span of a week over Black Friday and Thanksgiving. It does appear that the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series are really having a hard time just getting systems, sure, to store shelves, but even online to different retailers. And that's something we expect to be facing going into next year, maybe all of 2022. I hope that's not the case, because there are a lot of people who would like to pick up a PlayStation 5 and jump into what is still considered next gen by a lot of people, because they just can't find the system and enter into the PS5 and Xbox Series generation. Also, you may have noticed that Metroid Dread is not on the sales charts. It actually was number 11 for Nintendo's overall sales, like their own chart, falling just out of the top 10. Everything above it appeared to be stuff that was marked down for the holidays. Matt Piscatella mentioned that Metroid Dread is still rolling along well enough, and we just need it to roll along to 3 million units sold by next October. So here's hoping it turn in a pretty good number and set things up for 2022. That will be a number we'll find out, like hard numbers from Nintendo, at the end of January or like early February, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Next up, let's talk about a new situation that appears to have presented itself to Sony. I don't want to say out of nowhere, but it certainly was unexpected, this being a new exploit that was dropped online for the PlayStation 4. It's an exploit that appears to have been worked on for a while, and a lot of times we'll see teases towards different devices being unlocked, jailbroken, and then they won't actually release the method or files in order to do it. But it looks like that is no longer the case for the PlayStation 4, and potentially something that could be affecting the PlayStation 5. That's right, Sony could have a pretty serious problem on their hands here. Let's head over here. This was posted up by Wolo.net saying the PS4 9.0 jailbreak. I think it's supposed to be PS4 with OOB in the way, so POOB S4 was released. So it looks like if we take a look at the description, in this project you'll find an implementation that tries to make use of a file system bug for the PlayStation 4 on firmware 9.0. The bug was found while diffing the 9.0 and 9.03 kernels. It will require a drive with a modified exFAT file system. Successfully triggering it will allow you to run arbitrary code as kernel. To allow jailbreaking and kernel level modifications to the system, will launch the usual payload launcher. And well, I mean, 9.0 is pretty recent. In fact, many people online were saying if you go to a store and find a PS4, it should have at least 9.0, maybe even earlier for the firmware, because currently we're on 9.03. But it gets a bit more interesting from there. We can see this posted up over on Twitter by Z saying the exploit is legit, and as a bonus, the kernel exploit affects PlayStation 5 as well. No, PS5 is not ready or being released. The lead developer does not currently have a PlayStation 5 console, so I guess a good side effect, at least for Sony, with the supply constraints just getting PS5s out there, the person, I guess, working around the exploits isn't even able to get the system to try it on. Now, the reason this is such a big issue for Sony currently is because they're going to support the PS4 at the bare minimum throughout 2022. We already know several big titles heading to that system, and while a lot of people are looking at that as a legacy system now, considering we're more than a year into the PS5 and the Xbox Series X life, which is, it's weird to think we're already a year in, but I mean, the PS4 is looked at as last gen by anyone who's bought a PS5 or an Xbox Series. However, if you have not been able to find one of those systems, the PS4 is still a current gen platform to you, and the fact that Sony is bringing Horizon, Gran Turismo, and God of War Ragnarok to that platform means they're going to be paying attention to this, because what if we get to a point where this exploit catches up to 9.03 or whatever firmware we have to update to launch for Horizon, which generally they'll do firmware updates around like their newer, bigger titles. Maybe there's some bug fixes they have to iron out ahead of the release. Well, if people are able to just exploit the PS4 easily, that will kind of negate what Sony is trying to do here, which is to be able to put these games on an older platform that has a massive user base to kind of hold up their development costs. Well, the PS4 gets busted wide open. That could be a serious problem for their bottom line. And then, of course, that's not even taking into account the possibility that this exploit could follow its way to the PlayStation 5. Certainly not something that Sony is going to be taking here lightly after what they saw happen to the PSP. So I would expect a bunch of software updates to start hitting the PS4 now that this exploit is out there and Sony is able to research and look into how to close off where the exploit is able to take advantage of. And I mean, at this point, the PS5 could be up next. So we'll see more about that as we head along. But yeah, a major exploit now out there in the wild for pretty much anyone to try out for themselves. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Splinter Cell once again. It's been rumored. We've had talks about it being greenlit within Ubisoft, and we've heard that it could potentially be an open world Splinter Cell game, which, great. We'll see how Ubisoft handles that one if that ends up being the case. But it does at least look like that Ubisoft is doing something with Splinter Cell. Go figure, they updated their trademark. This was getting passed around as proof that Splinter Cell is a thing within Ubisoft. And while I do believe that they are going to do something with Splinter Cell in the form of a game, don't necessarily know if this trademark right here, which was updated on December 6th, is heavily pointing towards, hey, yeah, we're doing it. It's been greenlit within the company. I think the reports themselves are enough to at least go on to hope that there is a new Splinter Cell coming, but this one in particular was filed under classification 41, that's for entertainment services, and it kind of falls in line with these different companies updating their trademarks as they go along to avoid them expiring and then, of course, losing rights or I guess the ability to own the trademark for the game itself. I think where we are with Splinter Cell, if it was greenlit within Ubisoft earlier this year, as the reports have said, we could potentially see a reveal for it just to let fans know, hey, this is a thing that is happening at Ubisoft Forward for E3 in 2022. In fact, that's kind of where I'm calling it. I think at that time, that could be a way for Ubisoft to close out the show. Maybe the green lights pop up and they're like, Splinter Cell is back or something like that. Just to get people hyped up, let them know they haven't forgotten about Sam Fisher. He's not going in another cell phone game or making a random cameo in Ghost Recon or something. No, he's getting his full own game. So again, we'll, I'm sure, find out more about this in 2022 so they can set the stage for years to come of updates before the game is actually ready. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a little poll that I posted up yesterday. where I asked, now that Sony has announced custom covers, are you buying or planning to buy a new color shell for your PS5? 21% said yes, I'll be getting new shells. 31% said no, I'm not interested in them. And then 48% said, I need to find a PS5 first. This is probably one of the reasons I think Sony went with the custom cover approach, because like they can't get PS5s out there. There's still plenty of people looking for them right now. And then when we go into next year and they have things like Horizon Forbidden West, I'm sure many third-party games also around Sony's system like Forspoken and potentially Final Fantasy 16, and then we get to God of War and so on. There will be more and more demand for a system that they're just having a hard time producing. So they can make plastic shells, put them out there, and then sell you a $55 accessory essentially for the system you just found that maybe you want it to look a bit different. It was pretty much impossible for them to make all these different colored PS5 systems when they're really just trying to get them out there at all. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Hal Jordan saying, if game companies are going to start charging $70 for a video game, then I want to see them put that extra money to good use. Square Enix should use that extra money to improve the quality of life for those who work for them. Well, we'll see if a corporate entity wants to do that or not. Activision decided to give their CEO like $100 million or $200 million bonus or something. So it's gonna be case by case based on the different companies. But the $70 debate is something that goes back and forth constantly. But the market appears to be deciding that $70 is acceptable. We just saw Call of Duty and Battlefield top the NPD sales charts. Those are $70 games on the PS5 and the Xbox Series. So, I mean, it appears to be working at least for Activision and EA now. Madden, that's $70. NBA 2K, those are all in the top 10 right now for the NPD. So yeah, I think a lot of these companies are going to make the jump to $70 here in the next year or so. I think Nintendo will do it with their next generation Switch. And it reminds me very much of the $50 to $60 jump where there was a lot of debate around that as well. But eventually the market accepted it and people just stopped talking about that. I think that's going to be the same thing that happens here. The $60 to $70 jump is something we'll bring up again. We make that $70 to $80 jump in like 10 years. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, whether it's the custom covers for the PlayStation 5 or the new controller colors. Are you picking any of those up? Let me know which ones down below. Also, what about the NPD sales charts? The Switch topping in terms of hardware, or Call of Duty and Battlefield topping the charts on the other side, but hardware sales massively down. Do you think we get this whole thing back on track with supply for the PS5 and the Xbox Series into 2022? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.